Hello, and welcome back to the Modeling Success in Action podcast. I'm your host, Jessica, and I'm joined here today by Jordan Kofsky. Now, Jordan is a Vancouver-based mortgage broker dedicated to helping clients navigate the real estate market with confidence. Known for his expertise in working with both salaried professionals and entrepreneurs, Jordan focuses on securing the best mortgage solutions while making the process simple and stress-free. He embraces the title Mortgage Geek because, as he says to his clients, we're all geeks about something, and he just happens to be passionate about mortgages. Welcome, Jordan.
Hi.
Hey.
Good to be here. Thank you. Appreciate the lovely welcome. I wish I introduced everybody that way, and or I was introduced every time that way. So I'll take it.
Yeah, right. I love the fact that like podcasts get to open up with this like beautiful bio, right? I've been stealing this. There's a networking buddy that I have, and every time I'm in the room with him, he goes, "Have you met Jessica?" And then he like basically reads them my bio and tells them 10 testimonials, and then he walks away. And I'm like, we just need this everywhere.
Right. Talk about like great red carpet treatment wherever you go.
Exactly. Well, Jordan, so we've heard your credentials, but the real reason that I did want to have you on the show was because you have started to kind of really show what it looks like to prioritize the service, the quality of, relationship that you're giving to your clients way above like the sales that you're trying to push, but it's still managing to bring you business and to support you and to allow you to be successful. So I would love to know a little bit about why you do choose to prioritize the service over the sales in your approach, and how does this benefit your clients?
Yeah, well, that's a really great question, a really great point. Is that like one of the things I learned while I was going through like my process of becoming a mortgage broker and really owning your own business and creating all of this and try to build success is that mortgage brokers, much like other real estate professionals, end up being a little bit more, transaction oriented. And that's something we want to avoid because nobody wants to feel like they're just another number and we just got it done and we moved on. And certainly I fell into that trap to some degree. I mean, my goal, of course, is not to do that. And we all say we don't want to have that happen and everything like that. But it happens. You sort of get into a bit of a rhythm where you sort of treat people not the best way. You wish you didn't. And it's never on purpose, as I said, but here we are. So what ended up happening was I sort of had to make a shift in my mindset thinking of how am I going to run my business and how would I like to be treated? Because it sort of dawned on me after a while, even though everyone loved to chat with me and everything like that I wasn't really providing all of the service that I could provide. And that doesn't really necessarily end with the transaction. A lot of times, in my case, it sort of ended with the transaction. I'd reach out a little bit after everything was done, but not really. And so thus, as a result, my connections with people over time would sort of wane. And that's not what I like, especially because I had such a great experience working with so many people that I want to be able to provide that service all the way through and being able to connect regarding, even though there's no money on the line for me, but being able to connect, provide help, provide guidance ends up being really very, very, very helpful.
So like what have you noticed in a shift for the way like the relationship is, the way the feedback you're getting from your clients as you kind of moved into this more relational mindset?
Yes, very good question. Is that like when I was starting reaching out with like a program that I called like a mortgage checkup or adopt a mortgage or whichever, is what ended up happening was I started chatting with clients and they ended up going, wait, whoa, like nobody's ever called us about this. And even I started reaching out to people that weren't even my clients. I didn't really care. It's just like, do you have a mortgage? How can I help you? And people were like, I never got this advice from my own bank. Why not? Kind of thing. And I'm like, well, that's the difference in level of service that you're able to get. And then lo and behold, I had all these people that wanted my advice, wanted to connect, because I'm not really looking for like the sale. I could care less, really. The idea is how can I help? And if you come in with that sort of mindset, it ends up making all the conversations actually quite a lot easier and far less, so much pressure on the conversation, because you feel like if you can just get it closed or just change their mind or make it look one way, then you'll win. But when you're really winning. So in a way, if you're able to chat with people and provide some help and provide some guidance and service, then more often than not, people will look at you very fondly. And as a result, more good will come your way.
Okay. So that's interesting because, there might be some people saying, hey, you're taking your eye off the prize. It's a sales job. You need to be looking, the outcome needs to be sales. But it sounds to me like your outcome above all is, garnering that trust, that likability, that relationship, that thing that makes people want to keep coming back and working with you time in and time again.
Well, exactly, actually, is that it was a hard transition to make because your mind goes one way. And frankly, I had a few times where I'm like writing my notes and how I want to connect with clients. Because of course you do your notes and prep beforehand. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait, I don't want to present myself like that. And I would have to actually like rewrite it and start again. And it took a few tries sometimes to get it right. But then once it sort of unlocked and it was like sort of like really like a key opening a door, it was like, oh, this is way easier.
So what did you notice for like you to change about the way that you're experiencing those transactions? Does it feel like it's less stressful to you now? Like, how is it different to you now?
Very much so. It's a lot less stressful because ultimately in the end, what is my goal now? My goal is to provide help, not necessarily to get a sale, so to speak. So in the end, it ends up being a far more enjoyable conversation. And then if there's no money to be made, so to speak, in my head of like, that's a necessity, well, then every conversation is kind of fun, kind of easy, very relaxing, and ends up being very conversational. Now, more often than not, I do have a very good solution for them, obviously, but the reality is that if I don't, that's great. Good for them. Now they're able to get something even better than they thought that they could. And who are ultimately, ideally, cross your fingers, is who would they thank for being able to push them into that direction and see what options are available to them? Me, right? And if I don't do that and I'm able to push them into something that they may not be fully happy with, so to speak, well, in the end, at that point, who's really winning here? And like, I might win short term, but in long term, people kind of find out about that kind of stuff and people are able to figure these things out and they don't look at you the same way. And, this isn't to say that's what was happening before, but I certainly don't want that to happen in the future.
Yeah. I mean, people definitely, when we talk about vibes, like people pick up on our intentions, the energy behind what we're putting out there, right? So if we had to look at, your high level, your values right now, where would you say that those are landing? Like what's the big umbrella level value set for you?
Yeah, so I really kind of value my business and I create my business based on, frankly, for lack of a better way, integrity. Like simple as that. If I'm not having integrity with my word, with myself, or with my clients, what do I have? Really? So ultimately, it always ends up kind of landing back to that. Even yesterday, I had a moment where I was going, hey, like, here's an opportunity for a refinance. I can definitely send them in this direction. But then in the end, I thought to myself, wait, but what if their own current lender that they have now, even though I wouldn't get the business, so to speak, is able to offer them something better? Well, why don't they reach back out to their own bank, essentially, even though I placed them with their bank, what they're currently at now, and I have an opportunity to move them because they're interested in doing that. Well, but I'd rather see if they have the best option available to them. And I owe them that. That's my duty to them. I owe that duty of care. We call fiduciary duty. But to be very clear, I would do it anyway, because then I could sleep at night going, congratulations, you have the best available product. And hopefully then they tell their friends that like, this guy was able to help me, didn't take a dime, didn't ask for anything, just wanted to get me the best possible product and best possible option that worked best for me. And that makes it a lot more warm and comforting and a lot more integrity in the business.
Yes. Well, like seriously integral, because like there's not a lot of people in service industries that talk in the way that you're talking. You usually hear about duty of care when you're thinking of health and medical, right? The doctors are the ones sending you for the second opinions because they want to make sure that you're getting, that you're covering everything. But you're sending people for second mortgage opinions because you want to make sure that they are taken care of. That's a pretty cool thing, even though it might mean that somewhere along the line you lose out on business or you might miss a commission.
Yeah. I mean, a way that I kind of phrased it actually was, well, I haven't, so to speak, earned the money yet. So am I really losing anything? Right? Like,
That's a
If,
beautiful way of
if the
looking
money
at it.
was in my hand, then sure, in many ways, right? But it's not. And therefore, the client has all the options available to them. And so therefore, I'm just guiding them to the best option. And I'm not really losing anything. I'm gaining trust. I'm gaining, you know, connection with my own clients and building a better relationship, building a better bridge, if you will, to more opportunities.
Cool. So that kind of leads into, some of the beliefs that you have to hold around this is that, that there's more than enough opportunity out there, right? That people are going to get what they really need, right? Whether it's with you or someone else, or maybe you down the line or whatever, right? Yeah.
Well, exactly. Someone told me, and I hope this kind of fits here, is like that people don't necessarily do what they need to do. They do what they want to do. And so ultimately, if I can present them with an idea that has both, then I think that's the best and most available option for them.
People do what they want to do when they're acting immaturely. People do what they need to do when they're all matured up and they're able to tolerate their frustrated desires. But it's nice that you give it to both, because not everyone's totally healed up.
Right? Well, I cross my fingers that I'm doing it right.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, okay, so then service over sales, you're making sure that this is like a long-term kind of, relational thing that you're doing with your clients. So how do you continue to support them even after you've got their mortgages in place? Like, how do you make sure that you're maintaining this relationship?
That's a great question. So this is something I really try to hone in on over the past few months and, year or so, whichever, is that I was sort of going, when this was sort of trickling in, going, wait, why don't I reach out more? Frankly, and like, who doesn't like to talk to somebody that's just completed a transaction? They're super excited. They got their home, they've got their place. And in a way, I'm going, okay, bye. I'm like, why would I avoid that conversation now? So in a way, I reach out now after like the first month. Hey, is everything going okay? Did you set up everything okay? Is your bank happy? Is that all that organized? Any concerns you have whatsoever to start with? Yes, no, maybe so, right? And then from there, it's like, how can I help? Then 6 months later, I'll reach out again. How's everything going? What's going on? Is there anything I can do to help you? Is everything set up okay? Do you understand how your prepayment options work, right? Is there a way for you to beat the bank at their own game? How can I help you with playing that three-dimensional chess, so to speak? And so then I try to do that. And then I try to do, after a year, reach out again. And then it sort of becomes this continual thing. Year after year, I reach out, connect. How can I help? And always just sort of be available and be on point and be connecting with my clients. If, most of the time people may not pick up the phone, but if they get a voicemail for me or whichever, they know that I'm on it. They know that I care. They know that I'm around, and they want to reach back out if they do. And if they don't, heck, if somebody says, hey, do you know any mortgage brokers? Or, I haven't really been happy with this or that. You know what? You should call my guy. He calls me like 3 times a year and make sure that I'm all set up correctly and make sure that, I'm even trying to save money every single year and make my mortgage more efficient and put myself in a better position moving forward. He even helped me get a mortgage with a different lender. He didn't make any money. He just did it because he wanted to help you or help me, so to speak. Well, I would rather have that as my referral than, yeah, this guy helped me. He was nice and, he got it done. Hooray. I mean, I'd like to think that I can do both.
Yeah. Lots of people can be nice and get the job done, but not everybody is somebody you want to be calling you 3 and 4 times a year to check in, right? And it's interesting. I was having a conversation with like a coach or a person talking about their coach, and they had a session, and then there was really there was no follow-up. There was no accountability. They felt like they were not being supported and they were kind of left, floating in the ether. And they were going, what I really wish would have happened is, that I got another call or that they checked in with me again. And that would have helped me to feel really good about the stuff that I was already doing, the actions they were already taking, but just to kind of have that, sounding board almost. So you're acting as this available space for the people to, vent their concerns about their mortgage or to learn something new or to even be connected up with something else that might help them.
Absolutely. And then it ends up being when someone has, like, say, a variable rate mortgage. Well, I've got to reach out because, hey, things have changed. What are you thinking? Do you know how all this works? Because, and frankly, the first time you get a mortgage, last time I checked, buying real estate can be complicated and so and stressful. So ultimately, like, things kind of whiz by you. And so if you have, again, the opportunity to kind of rehash everything, talk again, and make sure that you understand everything. Look, it's your money. I want to make sure that you know what you're doing with it.
Yeah. So I'm curious, as you're supporting your clients through all of this, how are you supporting yourself so that you can continue to be this service over sales and do the whole giver's gain thing, like be the one to give first, give most, give often, and really just show up? How are you supporting yourself through this? What needs to happen in your life to make this possible?
Man, so you mean like, how do I continue having such a positive outlook, I suppose?
Sure.
I cry a lot. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, crying's cathartic.
You know what I mean? Like, it needs to come out somehow.
Yeah.
No, the reality is that, like, honestly, like, coming home to a great partner, and everyone's happy, and a very positive outlook, and a relaxing, stress-free environment, really bode well to being able to do this. If things get scary, then it becomes a lot harder to kind of be able to have that connection. So I'm a pretty simple guy, frankly. You know what I mean? I like going to hockey games. I like I like eating like good meals and relaxing and resting and having a good night's sleep, and all of that stuff really do matter. Outside of that, I don't know, the usual sort of thing here and there. You know.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I hope that's the right answer. I'm not really sure.
I don't
What
think
else?
that there's a right or wrong answer here, right? What we're doing is we're exploring you and your model of the world, right? So it sounds to me like you're keeping your side of the street clean, right? So that, you're not having messes that you need to trip over that are getting in the way of you being able to be there for your clients.
Right. I mean, I've been there and I've been that person, and we all go through times that, there's a lot more garbage pickup on your side of the street. But ideally, you don't provide that and give that sense to your client either, because, as I said, buying a property and doing refinancing and doing all that with the mortgage can be stressful. So if I'm not, fully aware and fully connected to my clients, well, really, how am I able to offer the best possible options for them?
Yeah. So, okay. I can't let you get away without asking this question, because I've got a mortgage broker on my podcast, and life is crazy right now. We're recording this at the beginning of 2025. The world just got nuts. So from your perspective, like, what are some ways that homeowners can like help support themselves through this changing time? Help, save money on their mortgages over time. Like, what are your tips and tricks right now?
Pull me, obviously. That's the easiest one. You'll have all that information in your in my bio and on your site and everything. So like that goes without saying. But more realistically, I think it's really important that you take a look and see what options are out there, and see if you are able to say, if you have a very high rate, rates are coming down. Is there an opportunity for you to refinance? Does that work for you? Do you save on monthlies, like your monthly payments out, but maybe not save in the penalty? So is it worth it to do that? Make sure you check that out. Make sure you check out your prepayment options. I'm a big believer in your prepayment options. If you have an opportunity to utilize them and be able to pay things off more quickly, do it. Some lenders, they make it sound good, but it actually really isn't. Like, so for example, if someone gives you, say, 25% or whichever prepayment option on like a lump sum payment one day throughout the year, well, that's good in some ways, but not so great in others. It's good because it's a high number, but you're only able to do it on one day per the year, and that's your anniversary date. Well, maybe that's because the lender wants to gain as much compound interest from you throughout the year, right? And if other institutions allowed you to do, say, 15 or 20% or whichever, but multiple times throughout the year, right? You're able to put in some here, some there, and every time you do it goes directly to principal. Well, that's now a lower amount of principal that is interest is compounding, which therefore saves you more money, right? So ultimately that ends up being a far better win. So looking at those options are very key. Gosh, other ones are like, switching from monthly payments to bi-weekly payments. Does that make more sense for you? And just taking a look, seeing what options are out there. It's very key that you really understand the terms and conditions, penalties, options, and the flexibility of your mortgage. If I could break down my entire industry into one number, I'd be a zillionaire. And so ultimately, there's much more to it than that. And, if I could do that, I'd be in Vegas and it'll all be very different. So there's that. And then in addition to that, kind of take a look at what's going on in the market and what's the south of the border? What's the U.S. president doing? What's going on there? What kind of effects does that have? And then having a conversation with your mortgage expert. So whether that's your bank or a mortgage broker or whoever, talk to them about it. What's going on? How can I best prepare myself? You know what I mean? And so, take charge of your own finances, or get somebody else to do it that you can connect with and trust.
So then what's your advice for people who are like, they're in fear or they're in shame at this kind of time, and they feel like, it's too scary, or they don't want to ask the big questions, or they can't, or they don't want to look dumb, how do you support people like that?
That is a very good question. And ultimately, that is a very common scenario, which is probably why I found that reaching out more often and connecting with clients and being a very approachable fellow, I'd like to think, ends up being much more beneficial in that way. So I try to avoid that as much as possible. But in the end, there are people, of course, that are uncomfortable and nervous and scared because they've got themselves into, critically injuring debt, kind of thing like that, isn't fun, and it's very scary. But what can we do to fix that, right? Your home maybe has a lot of equity in there, and maybe there's an opportunity to help you get yourself out of this crippling debt, you know what I mean? And maybe you'll pay off your mortgage 2 or 3 years later, than you wanted to, but at the same time, your every single day, to get there will be far better and far rosier and more sunshine. And I would rather that than, the rainiest day possible every single day for 4 years instead of sunny days for 7.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be able to, ride the wave, not have like the huge pendulum swings.
Very true. And it just sort of is what the nature of the beast is here. Property is expensive. It just sort of is what it is here.
Yeah, it
You
is.
know what I mean? So the best that you can to organize yourself, talk to a financial advisor. If you don't know a financial advisor, call me. I'll connect you with a financial advisor. We'll talk to each other. We'll get ourselves organized. Always look at experts, talk to them, see what works best. The reality is that we've seen everything and then some. So there's never really a question or a scenario that's too crazy that I haven't heard already. Like I've heard some real doozies, and I've had fun conversations with people that go, wow, that is a crazy story. And it always works out one way or another. And so whatever we can do to help, I'm definitely there to do it.
So for those of the listeners they're not mortgage brokers, but they're in a sales or they're in a service industry, or maybe they are a mortgage broker, but really they're wanting to start to step into your model of the world, where they really are prioritizing the service part, the relationship part, and maybe there's fear, because I know for sure I know a lot of service professionals who they automatically think that it's going to be a burden if they're expecting to be able to have, touch points with clients. They go, I don't want to freak them out, or I don't want to scare them away, or I don't want to be a burden, or I don't want to be annoying, or I don't know what to say to them, or I don't really even know how to broach this. This is something that comes up a lot in my office when it comes to self-confidence and, taking action on, boosting your performance in your business and getting over like fears of public speaking and all that kind of thing. But it really does tie into, really how successful your business can become. This is a really key part of success. So if somebody wants to, they're noticing that and they're going, hey, this is a deficit, and they want to model you, how do they start? Where would you start?
A very good question. One thing is that, for me, like, talk to a coach, in many ways, talk to a coach, see, because what ends up happening is sometimes people and other people that you're like, other professionals and other experts in your industry and people that have done well, talk to them. Most people are willing to give free advice because everyone wants to look smart, frankly. So the reality is that if you have an opportunity to do that, I say do it. And with the coach, for example, and any expert or anyone that's in your industry or another industry that's doing well, chat with them, because in the end, they may be able to, get your mind's eye to look in a different direction. You're so focused on going right, but what happens if you go left, right? There's a whole pasture of green grass over there that you just totally missed because you don't realize it's there. Meanwhile, you're so busy trying to make infertile ground fertile. The ground's been salted. So it's now time to move on and find more green grass. And so that's the best opportunity to do that. it's a bit of a blue ocean, red ocean strategy, right? I'm hoping that you know that concept a little bit here.
Well, let's pretend that the listeners don't know. Tell us the blue ocean, red ocean strategy.
Okay, really simply, like I'll break it down really simply is, blue ocean, red ocean. So in the red ocean, it's like this, it's a big ocean, but it's filled with all kinds of sea monsters and giant fish and whales and, octopus and sharks and everything like that. And they're all going after the same food. It's ugly, it's messy, and it's very, very red, if you know what I mean. So then alternatively, you can also create your own blue ocean. And your blue ocean is this very nice, very lovely ocean filled with your own clients and your own people that get you for you and really want to connect and work with you because they get exactly what you're doing and they really want to be involved in something like that. And now there's lots of food for you to eat because there's no other people in that ocean with you. And trust me, more people are more in that red ocean, hence why it's so competitive that you want to find your own blue ocean. So anytime that you can create your own blue ocean, and this is me trying to create my own blue ocean, that's what you're trying to do. And then ultimately, all of a sudden, you become relaxed and in its own way, fat and happy because you're able to eat all this lovely food that everyone's willing to share and be connected with because everyone wants to be part of that blue ocean.
Yeah. And this metaphor is creating like an image in my mind of, like when you're in the red ocean, if it's covered in blood, like there's no visibility, you can't see, right? You can't see the forest from the trees, but you need that top down. You need somebody else outside of it to have that view, that perspective and go, hey, you're in the quagmire to help, pluck you out and point you in the right direction and go, these are the things, this is your blue ocean, right? So getting that feedback from coaches, looking to other entrepreneurs, asking people for advice and feedback, that's it's so much easier to really see things clearly from that outside viewpoint.
Absolutely. Everybody gets caught in their own red ocean sometimes. It happens because you put your blinders on and you get in and this is what you're doing. And as I said at the beginning of the conversation is that you don't realize it's happening, but all of a sudden you go in with everything in the best of intentions, right? Everyone does, or at least I'd like to think that. But then in the end, what happens is sometimes you slowly kind of drift off the path and then you're all of a sudden in the red ocean that you didn't want to be in. So you got to find your way back out and then be able to provide that service and connect with others and make sure you're able to get back in the blue ocean and invite others into it as long as they're, we're all working in the same way.
Right. Let's all get along in that blue ocean there. And there's more than enough food for everyone.
It really is, especially in let's say in the real estate market, there's so much opportunity in the real estate market. And so as a result, there is so much opportunity for blue ocean. The thing is everyone just keeps thinking that it's only a red ocean and it's not true.
Yeah. That's the thing about, when we think that something is a certain way, we're really blocking ourselves from having choice, from having options, right? So being able to shift your mindset, being able to put on a different pair of glasses, right? Being able to see the world through someone else's perspective can help us see new options for us.
Absolutely.
So, Jordan, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a really fantastic and interesting conversation. And I hope that those of you listening can pick out some tidbits of how you can start to, add this into your life and support your own business in this way and your own endeavors. So Jordan, if somebody wants to connect with you, I'm going to put all your links down below, but what's the first step? How can they do that?
Well, stop me on the street for sure. No, but the reality is that, of course, I have a website, kofskymortgage.ca. You'll find all my contact information there. I don't know if I should put my cell phone number here. Most people won't write down that quickly. I have an email address, of course, jordan@kofskymortgage.ca. Reach out to Jessica. I'd like to think that you'd be able to connect people with me. So that's basically it. Check out the bios that I have on there. My phone number, my phone number will be there. My email address. I have all the social media accounts, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. It's all there.
And his phone number. Let's not forget. There's also his phone number. He really wants you to know that. You can call him. You can hear these warm, sultry tones over the phone direct to your ears.
You should be on the radio. It works. I learned how to have the low register that way. And then at the same time, the only other thing I wanted to say is because I have the great voice, I thought to myself, why don't I start my own podcast? And I did. It's called the BC Real Estate Review. Check it out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any of those different podcasty sort of sites. It's all on there. You and I did an episode together, so make sure you check that one out. It's a real, I want to say page turner, but what would that be for a podcast? A real minute muncher.
That's an image. Yeah. So yeah, go on the hunt. See if you can find that recording that Jordan and I did together. We're talking about stress and how to manage it in the real estate market, which is a big topic, in stress in all life.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna leave it here. Jordan, it was great having you. I hope that you had as much fun as I did, and it was a pleasure.
It was great seeing you as well. Thank you so much for having me on.